climate smart cities, innovation, and smart finance. So throughout the day today, we will get you to go to the Climate Cafe, where you have a bunch of interactive activities, including games of virtual reality, disasters, and a data wall. You could choose to visit the Innovation Bazaar Pavilion, where you can attend session discussions on the city's innovation exchange, or play innovation games called Labs that explain the concepts of smart urban life. You can go to the Finance Pavilion, which has 8 sessions planned on diverse finance issues, along with an exhibition of successful and innovative PPP projects of smart cities mission. The Digital Dunia Pavilion, which showcases various tasty you can go meet the Saya Watch there. I won't tell you what that is. You go and see for yourself. Pavilion also has a huge integrated command and control center with a live feed of student recipes. Or you can do a virtual tour to a digital city through VR glasses there. At the Amberhurst Pavilion under the Reimagining Public Spaces theme, there is a 30,000 square feet reconstructed neighborhood, and we have a live platform at 10:30 right after the first session. So when you visit all the pavilions, you get to use your e-passports. They are a part of your Smart City 2022 app and are a real component of your experience. This e-passport is a QR code-based attended parking mechanism, and it's for every participant here. So what you do is open your Smart Surat app, go to the menu function here on the top, 3 lines, go to My e-Passport, and then there is a QR code on the top left. Every time you carry out an activity or attend a session, just scan the QR code. The person who attends the maximum sessions and carries out the maximum number of activities wins an award at the end of today. That's exciting. Now I'm going to invite Mr. Kunal Kumar, Joint Secretary and Mission Director, Smart Cities Mission, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, to give us a short glimpse of what the Smart Cities Mission has achieved and what it hopes to achieve.
Very good morning, everyone. We have on stage with us our Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. And we are delighted to have all of you from all parts of the country with us here in this conference and attending this session. This is an exciting day which is going to pan out for all of us. As Namabalika said, this conference is about doing things, not only about attending sessions and listening. So I would request all of you to do as much as you can. Go to the pavilions, experience everything that they have put on offer. And by the way, it is all a gamified experience where whatever you do will be logged on to your app. And at the end of the day, we will actually know who did what. This is not to track you, don't misunderstand us, but it is also to generate data about what people actually like doing most, which are the things that interest people, where are the areas where more people want to collaborate on. Is there a learning for all of us as to what our new offering should be so that it becomes more useful to users? And also on the other side, we will come to know, individual state-wise preferences, gender-wise preferences, how the energy was used in this entire conference, how electricity was used, how water was used, where people were walking in and what time, how crowd management happened. So please use the app and please use the QR code scanner in the app whenever you go to a thematic pavilion. Ensure that you scan the QR, use a e-passport. So the end of the day, 5:30 p.m. at the neighborhood, we have the award ceremony for the best participants in the conference, where I'm sure all of you should try to be. This is not because you should win a prize, but because that will signify that you used the conference, maximized your experience here, did the most, which is why you were able to get an award there. So we are extremely thankful to the Surat team. This is an interesting seating experience. Not many of us have experienced this in conferences. This is an inclusive space. It's an equal space. All of us are participants. This is a community dialogue, not an expert talking to a novice. By the way, there is no expert in smart cities in any case. So, so this is a community space. So without taking much more time, I'll just quickly go through some important uh, areas where we think as a collective we need to work on in the future. And then I will request Honorable Secretary Sir to give us his perspective on how we should be using the conference facilities to maximize our learning and to inspire us all to make the best use of all the facilities that have been created. It's a lot of hard work which has gone. People have worked for a month. I know people who have not slept more than 3 to 4 hours for at least the last 3 weeks. So hats off to all of them, and let's give a big applause to the entire team who has done this. So now I'll just start the presentation. It's a business-like presentation. There's not many. It's more beginning with numbers, and then subsequently we'll go to other parts of the presentation. Uh, what we see here is, you know, can I ask the cameraman to not be near the, yeah. So what we see on the slide is that, all the work orders have been done for Smart City Mission grant projects. This is for the cities. And now we have to complete these projects by June 2023. So one of the big tasks that lie ahead of us is to plan implementation, and that would need capacity of human resources. It will need capacity of your contractors. It will need decision making if there is any variation to be done, and also all the SPV boards have to be ready for that. So that's one big area of work. Then, over the last 1 year, the great thing has been, despite COVID wave 2, what the mission achieved was an actual expenditure of over 21,000 crores, which is a tremendous effort by all the cities and states. Next year, we target to take our expenditure to 35,000 crores to reach 80,000 crore plus, which means 40,000 crore by Government of India and 40,000 crore by the state. And by June 2023, that's not 24, that is 23. Murli, please make that correction. We should be able to reach 96,000 crore, which is the planned mission allocation. So here, all of us will have to come together as a team and ensure that we are able to successfully complete the mission by June 23. Now, what all other things that apart from these numbers that the future holds for us quickly? One, there are a lot of people here who have liked the approach we have had in the cycles for change, streets for people, eat smart, nurturing neighborhood, transport for all challenges. These are not challenges which were meant to be limited time, 3 months, 6 months efforts. These were basically meant to ignite the thought process amongst city administrators that we need to pivot. If we cannot if we cannot learn from as grave a situation as the COVID pandemic as to what our cities need to be in the future, then I think we would have lost a great opportunity of learning and a great, blessing in disguise, I would say, rather, by the pandemic that came to us to force harsh decisions, to align partners, to get resources, to change our cities in this way. It's a full maturity cycle that cities in the West have gone through, from becoming car-driven cities to now changing to cycling and walking-driven cities. Can we, just the way we have leapfrogged, our technology has stood out in the way we have managed COVID, in the way we have digital payments, we are much better than the best countries in the world. Is it time now that we have the best cities in the same way, leapfrogging all that journey that all the Western cities have to go through, and we straight away go to make our cities the way they should in a mature state look like? So these challenges have to become part of our lives as city administrators. We have to cycle to work, we have to walk, we have to make people walk, we have to make cities comfortable and safe for walking. This is not only about behavior change, this is about putting proper supply of safe infrastructure, and that requires dedicated effort, human resources, and financial resources. Leadership is what it will require. Then, as Honorable Minister said yesterday, there are 20 cities, and we know them. We just met last week, all the 20 cities who have yet to complete their ICCCs. This is an important infrastructure, of course, for disaster management and other things, but also we know that our city governance is fragmented. Many agencies work on different aspects of city governance, unlike many other places where this is mostly like a disaster management center. In our cities, this becomes a integrated platform for all diverse agencies to come together and work. So technology is providing a solution perhaps for structural integration otherwise not present in our cities. This is a very significant infrastructure. 20 cities remain, plus all other cities have to have high value use cases activated. Now, it's not about just creating a center. It's like having an iPhone and using it only to make calls. It's better to use a feature phone for that. There's no need for creating so you're not using the full power of the platform of the system, which is not going to benefit the city. The investment has happened. People have spent about 100 crores, 80 crores, 120 crores, 50, 150 crores. Now is the time to use this facility, which will require having the best manpower. You need to have a very good chief technology officer. You need to have a good data officer. You need to have teams, and you need to engage with society to ensure that what you are doing there is what the society needs in your city. And that is a very humbling exercise. All of us think we know that what is required. It's not the case. And therefore, there has to be a system where, in a convenient manner, we can get feedback, and we are able to then imbibe that feedback into the way we work on these systems. So emphasis has to be on data, which is feedback, and getting that into the system, plus also using data to actually make ICCC sustainable. Whether you are planning a new hospital, you're planning new real estate development, or whatever else we are planning, the data that is there in the ICCC should be able to conveniently let you know how cities can be planned, how infrastructure should be built. Then, of course, we are moving towards ICCC as a service, and therefore, over the next 2 years, we expect at least 6 states to have all their cities with a service-driven model for ICCCs, wherein all environmental services like water, solid waste, flood sensing, pollution, etc., can be monitored through sensors and ICCC as a service application-driven model. And therefore, this is one of the big steps that state government representatives here have to look forward to. We may soon launch a challenge over the next 3 months for this 6 state selection to happen. Then, of course, today there are about 5 lakh downloads from our open data portal. We need 100,000 plus open data sets. This has to become a movement. All the 100 cities have to ensure that all data which is lying in public records has to be made open, has to be frequently updated, which is where I think this has to become part of your exercise through the ICCC, through your data teams to be able to do this. And this requires constant feedback from people so that you are able to put out data sets which matter to them. Then the Urban Data Exchange has been created. This is a fantastic infrastructure. In Surat, if you take the public bus while you are here, you can experience the power of this because a lot of data sets have got integrated, and therefore the Surat public transport app is has more options than any other public transport app. For example, it gives you a lot of information about availability of seats on buses. It links your bike system with your public transport system and so on. And there are 10 cities who have done so far. We want all other 90 cities to start using this infrastructure. Then the National Urban Digital Mission is now, after this conference, going to be one of the topmost priorities on which we will work with states. We have to ensure that all cities and towns in the country over the next 5 years have at least 6 or 7 very useful services which people actually demand from municipalities, like property tax, like grievance redressal, like birth and death certificates, like licenses, permits, trade licenses, etc., should be available to every citizen online. As our Honorable Vice President used to say, online and not inline, which is where our cities have to head to. Then the National Urban Learning Platform is a peer-to-peer learning platform. This is being modified as we speak because of user feedback, and we expect at least 100,000 municipal employees sharing with each other, learning with each other, and growing as a learning community over the next 1 year. March 2023, we expect 100,000 plus municipal employees. So all of us will ensure that this becomes one of the biggest learning communities in the world through the National Urban Learning Platform. Then we are going to deepen our engagement with academic institutions. So far, we have started documenting 75 projects as critical case studies, and we hope more institutions will join. IITs, SPAs, CEPT, all the best institutions are part of this exercise. We had a very interesting discussion yesterday over dinner when Secretary Sir mentioned that these should go into top journals. And I would request all the academic institution representatives present here that they should seriously look at doing that. and that will enrich the research as well as it will make this but the publication go to a wider audience, which will ultimately benefit us better. Then, of course, we have just launched yesterday the Urban Outcomes Framework, the four indices that we work with: ease of living, municipal performance, data maturity, and climate smart cities. These assessments now have begun. So all cities and states have to start entering data into the portal. And by the month of October is when we feel we will be able to release the rankings of the best livable cities, the cities which are doing the best on climate, and the cities which have the best municipal corporations, and the cities which have the best data ecosystems. These rankings will be released in the month of October. My request to all the cities is that they should start populating the data as soon as possible. Then, of course, physical and financial completion, the geographical management information system that we have, all of you should keep it updated. It's the most fantastic mission management system you will ever see. I'm sure all of you agree with that. We will keep enriching this. As we speak, the next version of GMIS is under coding, and we should be able to launch this in the next month or so. Then we go to, is it functioning? Hello? Can you go to the next slide, please? This is not functioning. Yeah. So we launched the India Smart Cities Awards, and I request each city to participate in this, at least in one or the other categories. And therefore, we should have a wide diversity of participation, wide diversity of projects and innovations that are pitched for this year. I would like to mention that this year onwards, we would recognize partners, best partners. We would recognize best industry partners, both in the tech as well as in the infrastructure sector. And there are also community-based organizations who have worked with the Smart Cities mission, which will be recognized from this year onwards. Placemaking is something that we have taken on as a fringe activity so far over what we are doing. But the more and more we think about smart cities, the more we realize that smart cities are those cities which look good, which people experience as good cities, which have a good public realm, which feel, when you get out of your homes or you get out of your offices and meet the city outside, you get an aha feeling. There's no other way to describe a smart city, which is where placemaking becomes very important. Placemaking is about making each part of the city look like your drawing room. It should look like your living room. The way you decorate your living room, each part of the city has to come, be decorated like that. It has to be looked at as an experience. And one of the best definitions of placemaking is that a placemaking should transform a place from where you want to go out as quickly as possible to a place which you don't want to leave. And all places in the city have to become like that, which is where placemaking has to be taken on. And you can see in 3 days, a mini city was created at the venue. It's not rocket science. It happens overnight. And I'm sure with transport, with public mobility, with cycling, walking, and neighborhoods, everything has to come together and each part of the city has to be taken up. And this will only happen when we create distributed collaborations. Each neighborhood will have to have a committee, and then they will have to plan things. Then we will come as a municipal corporation or SPV to help them. Then the infrastructure will get created and somebody will take the ownership of management. Then the same model will get replicated in a different way in a different part of the neighborhood. And this should spread like wildfire. And I'm sure that we are getting the hang of it now because of the experiences of the last 2 years. It's time that we make it a part of our life, the way we create infrastructure in the city. It should not be all concrete. It should be look like as if, so it's not, we are creating bare walls. We have to make the city just like a drawing room is a livable space. Just like we feel comfortable sitting here, we should feel comfortable in every part of the city. Then, again, this one is not working. Can I get to the next slide? I would request all cities to start looking at the City Innovation Exchange and engaging with startups as much as possible. This is a platform which is very, very essential. If you want to look at out-of-box ideas, there are about 600 plus ideas today, but if you start using it, it'll go to 6,000, because obviously if the user is more interested, people will be interested in getting their ideas online. We have sessions about 6 in the innovation stall. I should not really pinpoint one session. The others will feel that this is a competition among sessions also. But I would seriously believe that you should engage with this one as soon as possible. Under TULIP, clear mandate, we should have at least 100 internships this year in every smart city. Come what may, you should engage with youth, and you should ensure that at least 100 people in your city are able to learn about what is happening in the city through the engagement that you have. And of course, We will shortly announce this. We are working on the contours of the Smart Cities League as to how the cities come together as an association, not only as an association, but as a league, which then spreads its learnings as a movement to other cities of the country. And then, of course, we are looking towards Bhopal Expo going forward, where this will be an expo format, something of the kind we see at the Barcelona Expo and many other good expos across the world. And lastly, to the state representatives, this is not only about 100 cities, and this is also not only about few projects and few ways of doing things. There are hundreds and millions of things that can be done in our cities. India is one country which is leading the innovation curve across many, many sectors. I'm sure that energy needs to come in the city space, and that can only happen if state governments make it a simplified approach to helping cities, guiding cities, working with cities, sharing and peer learning, so that people will dare to experiment. Which is where I come. These are few ideas which we have gathered over the last 1 year. We have to experiment. There is a saying where quality is better than quantity. In this case, I disbelieve that. I think the more quantity you have, the greater quality you will have. If you experiment 100 things, maybe 10 things will come out with great quality. But if you only stick to one, you will only have either good quality or bad quality. So you have to experiment. Don't fear to fail. Test, learn, and scale has to be the approach. Start small, learn from it, have a pre and post analysis, and then scale or don't scale depending on the success or failure. Then institutionalize observation as a skill. Many times we jump into solutions, but I think all over the place we have seen that solutions don't pan out the way it should. We have cycle tracks where there are no cycles. We have pedestrian walkways, there are no pedestrians. We have parks where there are no people. Why? We have not observed probably how the park was supposed to be used, how people engage with it, which is why our initiatives fail. Even if when we are planning our infrastructure, now we have cameras, now we have many other things. We can put that under observation, see what are the conflicts, see what people want, and then plan our infrastructure. Then engage, partner, and collaborate with as many people. None of us here understand the whole business of smart cities, whole business of cities, but there are amongst us equally extremely knowledgeable, extremely skilled people who have done things, and they are part of our teams. If we just open up, they will engage and partner with us. Then see through multiple perspectives, see through the political perspective, see through the citizen perspective, see through the partner perspective, industry perspective, see through the climate perspective, see through the infrastructure perspective. Enhance that capability of multidisciplinary thinking. Then ask the right questions. Most of the times we think innovation is about right ideas, but as we have seen umpteen times, innovation is mostly about asking the right questions. Then everything falls in place. Then please build and nurture talent. Amongst SPVs, there are some SPVs who have invested in talent. Others are doing what is called jugaad. इधर से कुछ लोग ले आया इस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए, उधर से कुछ ले आया इस प्रोजेक्ट. This is a golden opportunity. SPVs are a golden opportunity to invest in talent, and we have this. We can bring talent at market prices, but it's not only about market prices. It's about engaging with passionate people. It is about bringing passionate people onto your team so that they can contribute to your city. There are so many such people waiting to contribute. It's just that we have not been able to nurture the process of building and nurturing talent. Then imbibe on a continuous process of lifelong learning. Your learning should never stop. All of us are part of a team. We learn from each other, but at the same time, we actually learn from many, many things that are going around us. So be open to new ideas. Then focus on outcomes and not on the instrument. Most of the time, we are focused on the app. Look, the app looks good, but we never ask the question, how many people used it? Did it solve problems for people? There are many projects which are launched, but you have launched 10 projects for water supply, but when will we start to say how much water supply happened through the projects? So that is the clear focus that we should have as to how we are actually solving problems and not creating instruments which are not working. Lastly, and this is again something which sir also was talking about yesterday night, simplify the narrative. Don't use jargons, don't throw knowledge, don't show that you are all experts, we are all experts. We have to be very simple in our narrative. We should be able to connect to people. The greatest probably skill that we all require when we go about the job of smart cities will be to communicate effectively. And I'm sure all of us will take, these are points which have come from the experience we've had on the ground over the last so many years. And I am sure that these will keep guiding us in the future. I will now leave the stage I'll just sit on the platform, and I'll request our secretary, sir. Sir is new to the ministry, but he has, so quickly taken on, and as I say, that he's been asking the right questions. He's looking at the things which should, and which, first of all, he's looking at understanding what's going on in the cities, what's going on in the missions, and he's started to now have his own ideas and engage with a lot of people. So we would love to hear from him about the conference and what he wants to tell us about how we should uh, go about the participating in the conference to make the best use of it. So I will stop here and I'll request Secretary Sir to talk to all of us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kunal, and good morning, everyone. Let me first thank Surat Municipal Corporation and their entire team for organizing this wonderful event and conference. The Surat has done really well uh, in terms of organizing this conference, and also smart city team in our ministry, which includes our partners and everyone. I think all of them have done great job. Thanks, Kunal, and your entire team. You have done very well. Coming to the conference and today's event, whenever I see this type of private sector engagement coming with the innovative ideas on data and all, what worries me most is on the other side, we have city governments and state governments uh, whom you have to sell it. So if you are in private sector, either you sell it to in the market or you sell it to the city government. And the biggest challenge in government is procurement uh, of anything other than civil works and goods. Government doesn't know how to procure. Very, very difficult task. So all this innovation ideas and apps and datas and all of you are developed, and you are looking for trying to meet people. Where do you sell it? What do you do with that? You have an idea, you have a solution. So I think biggest challenge before us and all the cities is the procurement. How do we enable them to do the procurement? They don't understand it. Uh, and starting a new procurement itself will take a year or something. And by the time that app or that technology, that data requirement would have changed. So I think that is one aspect we need to really deliberate upon. How do you enable cities to procure whatever is happening in the market, or give an opportunity to these innovators whereby city without procuring provides them a revenue model. So I had one innovator coming to me with some very interesting solutions for zoos and museums and those type of places where with the app you get a narrative in front of any cage or any statue and all those things which are lacking in most of our museums and zoos. Uh, he doesn't know how to get in. He can make a advertisement revenue, but then you need approval from the governmental authorities for that. Governmental authorities also like it, but they don't know how to get it. So I think that is a challenge. Similarly for data, all of you have done a lot of work, a lot of data, but where is the money coming out of that data? I think that is something very, very important. So whenever all the city representatives which are there from different parts of the country, when you look at innovation bazaar or climate or data exchange, look it from the perspective that how do you make that person make money in a way which is feasible in a governmental system. I think similarly for the innovators, that is the key. So I see a lot of innovators in water side, in data side. Again, how do you enable them to make money? That's the key. Second thing I wanted to talk about was I think some newspaper people were asking minister what after June 2023 in smart cities, I certainly don't see us picking up another 100 cities and doing another smart city too. I think the issue is, how do you now make all the cities as smart cities? So smart city component is the scheme was a sort of an untied fund given to the cities and let them plan what they want to plan. Bulk of the works in smart cities are where the more money is there is the routine works of water, sewage, road development, building development, which probably can be done in other cities through regular schemes. So, what is the more interesting part of smart city is more innovative part, data part, uh, soft part. So, how do you make that reach other cities which are willing? Now, there are cities which are not able to do a cleaning, which are not able to supply water, which are don't have money to pay salaries. It's a bigger challenge for them. What do you do with all this data? What do you do? They don't have staff. Uh, they don't have people who understand this. Large number of cities are like that. So, what do you do with all this data for them? All these platforms you have built. So, this idea of ICCC as a service is a one thought process. Similarly, what other services you can provide them through private sector with state paying for that. Now, that is one concept for all those census towns and small statutory towns, something we need to deliberate upon. How do you, all these learnings, how do you make them reach to people who just don't have the human capacity to do all this? And second is to cities which have a adequate staff, which have okay type of funding. So how do you make all these smart part of the smart city reach them? So they have a water supply scheme. How do you bring SCADA into that? They have a sewage system, but how do you bring technology into that? How do you bring NCMC type of paying solutions into that? How do you bring other data related things into that? So that's, I think that is what probably we would need to plan for a smart city 2 version. Uh, we are quite open to ideas. Yeah, but I don't really see another 100 cities being picked up for a second smart cities, or instead of 100, we pick up 500 cities. I don't think that's. You need to remove probably the hardcore part of the smart city of where basic infrastructure is being done and take out the smart part and expand it across the cities. The third area I wanted to talk about, this Kunal was talking about placemaking. Uh, that we are not seen too much in India. And when you go outside India, you see all over uh, how the inner city parts, old towns, or other living areas are more livable. Um, doesn't require too much of infrastructure. Just
the needs of different genders, age groups, accessibilities in a country like India, where nearly 50% of all urban residents live in inadequate housing, the public realm is of even more consequence. Dear colleagues, our public spaces need reimagination. They need to be scaled to human needs, not just in the way they are conceived, but also in the way they get implemented. To bring urgent attention to public spaces and sustainable mobility, the last 2 years have been momentous for us. We have worked together on piloting transformations in cities. We have ignited a nationwide cycling revolution with the city leaders like you all leading from the front. We are reimagining streets such that safety and health of our pedestrians come first. We started to test how neighborhoods can nurture young children and their caregivers. We have started a nationwide marathon to transform public spaces with people and for people. Here at the conference, we are learning about how the public realm can actually be experienced. This 30,000 square foot of neighborhood that we have created from scratch so that you can touch, smell, and experience what a good public realm feels like. Now, the question on everyone's mind is, how do we scale and institutionalize this work? How can local governments get access to urban design and planning expertise and tools? I will leave you with some thought starters before we hear from the panel discussion. 1, can we create positions for urban designers, architects, planners in our municipal departments and development authorities, which are otherwise largely led by engineers? This was done recently by CMDA. 2, can we help build knowledge centers that work with local governments? For example, CHED in Kochi or BUKC in Bhubaneswar. 3, can we conduct specialized training programs for commissioners and municipal staffs as well as corporators? Can we adopt transparent and competitive processes so that we can invite the private sector to participate in city making? And last, can we build more open design guidelines and tools such that they can be adapted for varied contexts? With this, I'd like to invite our panelists. First, M. Lakshmi, IAS, CEO, Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority. Mr. Rajesh Patil, Commissioner and CEO, Pimpri Chinchwad. Ms. Monica Kashkari, Special Officer DULT and CEO, KNMTA. And our moderator, Dr. O.P. Agarwal, CEO, WRI India.
Good morning, everyone, and a big welcome to the panel. I think it's, sitting in a space like this, the one thing that strikes you is how public spaces are really much nicer when they are designed and built with people in mind. What we've tended to think of cities for quite some time now is about the infrastructure, building the roads, building the houses, building all kinds of infrastructure, but without giving a thought to whether it's pleasing for people, whether it's convenient for people, and whether it is meant for all kinds of people. You need children, you need old people, you need ladies, you need men, you have a variety of people. Are we designing them? Are we making it friendly to all of them? And the few pictures that Jinal showed us is really an example of what you can do to make these public spaces much more people friendly. Now, with this in mind, there were a number of questions that were posed in the presentation that we just saw. I think the underlying theme in all of them is how do we build in expertise, or how do we institutionalize this kind of thinking into what we do with public spaces in all our cities. So we have three panelists who've been working in cities for a long time, have had a lot of expertise dealing with these kinds of things. And one question I would like to ask all of them, just sort of a leading question, if you can take a couple of minutes to respond to this, is some early thoughts on what you've either done or what you think can be done to institutionalize this kind of a mindset change, really, into how we design our public spaces. So let me start with you, Lakshmi. After one round, maybe I'll have a few other follow-up questions and go down.
A very good morning, one and all. It gives me a great pleasure to be here in this smart cities. And as Mr. Agarwal had said, right, we are here to share some of the knowledge which we have gained through our experience in working with cities to all of you over here, so that you do have some takeaway points, right? And why are we now into this human scaling of or reimagining public spaces? Is it that our previous or erstwhile planners did not think about it? Did they just go in only for building concrete jungles? Was that the idea? And now we want to have a paradigm shift. So ultimately, on this point, I would like to stress that the human framework or the human technology, wherever you go, we call a smart city. How do you actually define a smart city? A city is said to be smart, no? When the investments which you make on its, I mean, the people, the capital or the economic or social infrastructure, which will really help to, change the city to a sustainable city where it's a livable city, and it will only be through a participatory approach. And now, for all this, ultimately, your IT is not the be all. Okay. Ultimately, even for as your IT infrastructure develops, you need somebody at the back of it, right? IT doesn't develop by itself. Ultimately, you have that human face. At least it's the humans. So it's our people. So when we tried doing things, we wanted to put people in front of everything. And for this, we needed an institutional framework where we can have these people employed, both, in situ, in-house development, as well as for, having expert or the private people to be a part of it. So what I would like to share initially is we need to create a framework where you can have both the partnership of the government as well as the private, both inside and working on it. And as the discussion goes, I would like to share more on what we have really done, what we have achieved, so people can take away on that. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Coming to you, Monica. Monica is part of the Directorate of Urban Land Transport in Karnataka. I think a unique organization in the country, the only state that has an entity of this nature. And from what I've seen with the work that they've done, there's a lot of work on non-motorized transport, really people thinking on transport. So could you tell us a little more on really your ideas on how do you institutionalize this kind of thinking into the current structures?
Thank you, sir. And a very warm good morning to everyone here. I represent Directorate of Urban Land Transport, as Sir introduced. We are one of a kind. We deal with mobility in the urban sector, and we are a very nascent organization. We've just been there for 15 years, but we have tried to bring in all the good practices, whatever we felt would be required to make our cities more livable. Uh, and we have tried to imbibe that in our institutional arrangements. Having said that, when we talk about urban mobility, somehow we miss out the non-motorized transportation sector, the walkability, the cyclability of it. And that has been our concern. That has been also something that we take proud of in putting that across, putting that in front. We have a long running program called Cycle Day, which not only institutionalized cycling as an activity, but also brought people in front. It was a community driven thing which has been in operation since 2013, and managed uh, as well as even promoted by the community itself. So it is planning with the community that has been taken up through these factors, which we now have kind of more institutionalized by bringing in a separate program called Sustainability Mobility Accords, wherein we are trying to work with community, try and have some focus discussions with them, and try and bring out solutions for the community for the particular area. Whether it is no kind of making certain areas more accessible for all ages and abilities, while it can also look at having some sort of a circular or a ring public transport that is required by the city, which one of our communities actually came forward for. So when we say working with people, we need to work with people, for people, and we need to actually look at what people really want. And that is what should go into our plans. And that is what we have been trying to do in Dal, in the state of Karnataka, particularly. And it has been across the state. We are not more focused in Bangalore, but we are more focused in all other cities also. So as we go forward, I'll add more points to what I have said.
Thanks. I think fascinating when you say we have to work for the people, we have to work with the people and get to understand what they want and work according to what they want. Coming to you, Mr. Patil, I've been a great fan of Pimpri, even though you are, adjoining Pune and everyone's attention is in Pune. But from what I have seen, Pimpri Chinchwad has really done fascinating and innovative work. So if you can tell us a little more of how you've gone about thinking of urban design and people-friendly spaces.
Yeah, sure. So thanks a lot. Good morning to all of you. Thanks for this opportunity. I think beautification is not new to our cities. Every city tries to beautify its public places for so many years now. But this placemaking, which we are talking about, and transforming the public realm, I think this has totally changed the perspective of beautification. And I would like to share as to how we try to address the questions which are being raised in the presentation before. So the important thing is, first of all, we like adopted the inclusive approach, and instead of concentrating placemaking in one place or two place, we try to distribute it or try to identify places throughout the city. So we have 8 zones in our city. So we decided that no, we will have a couple of places to be transformed from every zone. So that was the first thing which we did. The second thing was we didn't plan at the headquarters. We wanted this to be driven by the people. So we just took the idea and went to the people. So what we did was, in every zone, the zone officer was supposed to sit with the community, like the senior citizens, students, residents associations, his own team of engineers and other people. And of course we have a very good uh, team of planners and designers. So then they sat down and identified places in every zone. And every place was supposed to be inclusive in a sense. uh, Either the it is relevant for, say, the children or senior citizen, and its usability after the transformation get enhanced. And the idea of transformation also comes from the people, like visiting the place and then trying to discuss with the people that we want to transform this, and then the idea is coming from the people. So that was the another thing. uh, Another aspect which we added was, like, we covered all kind of areas, uh, starting from the slum, lower income habitations, then a very posh areas, then areas which were relatively free, areas which were congested, and things like that. So this help us in kind of test this concept of placemaking, and take it to all section of society. So the impact was like, I mean, all over the city when this event was going on, there was kind of an atmosphere of an like a festival. So every newspaper was talking about it, and people were posting on the social media that, our area, this is photo before the transformation, this is photo after the transformation, and how people started using these areas. That also caught the imagination of the people. So this was very heartening and very satisfying. So another aspect which we added was, like, we uh, didn't make this driven by external agencies. We wanted our own team and engineers to understand the concept and to take the ownership. So the executive engineer of the civil department of particular zone, he actually got into the mission mode, and there was a competition between them as to who can perform better. And this help us in in the ownership by from the corporation as well as the smart city. And this way we saw that this is a beautiful mechanism through which we now don't need smart city mission to tell us that you go for the placemaking, but we are thinking of kind of identifying a month in a year or a couple of months in a year, whereby we will ourselves from the smart city will have our own challenges within the city, and maybe we want to go further and make it totally driven by the people. We just facilitating it. So I think that is the way. And like uh, another aspect which we added was, which was raised in the presentation, was also how we can involve the knowledge partners and institutions. So what we did was, we in our area is like a education hub. So we invited students from the architectural college, then the skill university, even the ITI. And these kids were so happy. They actually got the opportunity to express themselves, and already they are learning theoretically so many aspects, but now they got an opportunity to kind of be with the people, show something, and get the satisfaction of doing something. So that was something which was again uh, very different, which I think help us in uh, taking the idea to the people and make it successful. Thank you.
So this is fascinating. I think this is what leads me to my next set of questions. What I pick up from your intervention is one, it needs a leadership from the municipal commissioner or someone at a high level. The second thing you brought in was again very interesting on whether you build that capability within your own team, whether you get extra staff with those capabilities as a supplement to what you already have, or whether you engage with people outside to help you do that. I think there are three different ways that you have highlighted on how this capacity can be developed or built. Either you get additional people. I'm not very certain how many finance departments will be willing to agree to more posts within a municipal corporation, or whether you get a mindset change amongst your existing people so that they do it right, or you engage with outside agencies who are keen to help you with this. What do you think are the possibilities in this? How do you really build up that capability in your own institution? Let me use the same sequence and get back to you.
Yeah.
It's not so much about what you've done, but what is your advice to other cities based on your experience?
But what is that you want to take away?
Yeah.
Which we could share with others. Yeah. In this regard, learn how do you build your capacity, whether either in the in-house or from the experts. Just a small, I know everybody likes a story, right? So I will start with a small story, in the sense, the story, a real happening, which we took place in CMDA, that is Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority, within the last 75 days. So see, I think the story, you'll have a lot of takeaways. And you just go ask anybody in Chennai, what is CMDA? Any layman. The answer you will get is, it's an authority which gives you planning permission for all high-rise buildings, or multi-storied buildings. They'll just tell you that. But that is not the case, right? We are a planning and a development authority, where with a vision, we had a vision in our second master plan to build a very livable city. Okay, it's a sustainable, livable city, a prime Chennai. Okay, that is what. But then you need for anything to develop, you need a capacity in house. But that was totally lacking. Okay, so we had around 800 people. That was our sanction working strength of employees in CMTA. But then we just had only 400. You cannot do magic with 400 people, right? Because everybody was overburdened, right? Each and every planner or an engineer in CMDA had to do more than double or triple of his work. So that was burdening, right? Everybody feels that unless you are with that, your capacity, what best can be done has to be done. You cannot overburden, and ultimately it results in spoiling. I mean, your quality of work just comes down. And so when I see said leadership plays, as our Pune Municipal Commissioner was also telling, it's a leadership. And the situation before 6 months, before our member secretary, our Mr. Anshul Mishra took up, I should place him on this place, because he was instrumental in doing so. Over the past 15 years, you'll be astonished that there were no planners being taken inside Chennai. I mean, for Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority, for the past 10 to 12 years, in fact, to be very precise, no planners were recruited. We didn't have planners. It was only an engineering-driven organization. We had engineers for building infrastructure projects. But then, to plan, to vision, to envision a great Chennai, we didn't have planners. Nor did we have much consultancy people or expert advice being coming in, so that we could develop our Chennai into a very livable city. So our first task was to build the in-house capacity, right? But then this was not a very easy task for us, and we had to know a lot of struggles, I should say. But then, with the support of our secretary, our housing secretary, Mr. Makwana sir, and my member secretary, this was, we were able to do it in 75 days. Okay. First of all, I want all of you to understand that we were not a recruiting agency. We were only a planning agency. So, recruiting people is not our cup of tea, right? So we had to really struggle very hard. And at that point of time, when, like in our Tamil Nadu, we have all government departments, like apart from our local bodies or other boards, the other recruitments are being done by Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, as you all know. So they recruit people for the other government departments. But when coming to authorities, development authorities, and local boards, they are left to themselves, right? They have to do all their recruitments on their own, and fearing a lot of interference and the time constraints. But people really, they don't want to do recruitments or build their in-house capacity. But this was taken up as a challenge in CMDA. And what we did was, we wanted to make it a very transparent system, but where there's no interference. So through our Tamil Nadu e-governance agency, right, they sponsor vendors for us. And one such vendor was the NSEIT. Like he's the what do I say? He's the sister concern of our National Stock Exchange. He came in to help us through our thing. So it was a totally computer-based test, right? So there was no everything right from scratch, right from the application till the end results. Everything was done very meticulously, and we had engaged them. But at every point of time, no, we had to support them, because right from how the application should be designed, then how people should apply, then what are our requirements, and then how question paper setting, all that, and then how people write exams, the different centers, all center selections, then people to supervise that, and then after the exams are over, how to evaluate, and then your results, declaration of results, all that was totally, I should say it was well planned. And you would be surprised, only 3 of us was handling to maintain the utmost confidentiality and to not allow any interference from outside. Just 3 people, we were handling this, and we could do this because of the support. And there was no interference. Even if there was interference, we just brushed it aside, and we had to go through. So you will be astonished. We had, when we stepped in during the 6 months before, we have about a strength, we have a planning service and a planning subordinate service, right? In planning service, we have levels from assistant planner, deputy planners, senior planners, and chief planners. They all make up around 75 people. And we have the planning subordinate service, where we have the from grade 4 planning assistant, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, 4, that is around 155 people. 50% was vacant, right? So we started, and we were successfully able to recruit 30 planners. You will be really surprised. And it was nowhere, there was no interference. It's only on pure merit we had got 30 planners to our Metropolitan Development Association, authority. And you will be surprised, out of these 30, though there are engineers and planners, a bit of architecture, 17 people, 17, are masters in planner. They have all have a degree of planning, master's degree in planning. They're all specialized in different things. And now we are on the verge of giving them a 3 months training, because it is not that we recruit and we put them, plunge them directly. Nothing works unless they are also trained to suit our needs. And so we have a rigorous 3 months of training, which is going on. At present, when I'm speaking, all my recruits are now in Delhi. They are at the TCPO, and they're having a training today. So that's how we have meticulously planned that training also. This is about in-house capacity. For the other, to collaborate with to get in more private sectors or consultants or the academia inside. So we are also collaborating with them. And now we have a memorandum of understanding with the CEPT as well as the Cornell University. So they'll be able to help us plan better. So we are having a memorandum of understanding that has been signed also. So very soon we'll be getting them into it. And the other thing is we are also supporting, we don't have, you will be surprised, right? In Tamil Nadu, we don't have a degree in B plan. Yes, people from the engineering background, they do their M plan and then get inside the authority, I mean, either local bodies or in the planning authority. So we are supporting the SAP, that is the School of Architectural and Planning, to start a B plan. So CMDA will be completely supporting them. So from this academic year, we are going to have B plan graduates. So the importance of, we'll have a lot of planners coming in the next 3 to 4 years. So that we are trying. And they talked about internship, right? So we have this time, we are going to have 20 interns for different fields. There'll be architects, there'll be urban designers, urban planners, urban economists. So from different varied fields, we are going to have people who will be working as interns for us. We are also planning to pay them and use their to just to get their the fresh knowledge is there, right? All the youngsters, students from various universities who are doing their final year courses. So they'll also be brought in as interns, and as well as people who are fresh graduates, right? So just to give them a vision and to see the working of CMDA, they'll also be brought in. So that's how we are partnering. So that's how we are building our capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi. I think that's fascinating when you talk about CMDA having moved from a engineer-focused entity to recognizing the need for planners and also going further and trying to build up educational capacity through your B-Plan program that you're saying to develop more planners. I think that's fascinating. Let me move to Monica. Monica, based on your lessons, what is the advice you would like to give to other cities? One is to get planners. The other is, how do you get some of this design thinking into their mindsets? Thinking of, places are meant for people. How do you keep people in mind when you do your planning or designing or whatever it is?
A very apt question, sir. When we started off, DALT always have been getting people on board. We don't depend on consultants a lot. So it's a lot of people which we hire work on our project. So we do a lot of in-house working. In order to institutionalize even our working inside, what we have done is we have created a center for urban design, a very dedicated center which does the hand-holding support in terms of planning and designing of urban projects, especially in the mobility sector, urban street designs, placemaking projects, and we have been quite active. I have a very good team there working in Urban Design Center. Along with that, the Urban Design Center also works on design guidelines. And why I'm saying guidelines is it's very important to set the framework right. And when we are a state level agency, it becomes also very important to channelize the codes and guidelines in a manner that it gets promoted and propagated in other cities also. And with that, whatever learnings we have taken across, whatever challenges we have done, whether it is how to do a tactical trial, we have come out with a internal booklet which tells us how do you do a tactical trial. So capacity building in terms of institutionalizing, we have done. We have tried to get all these factors into a set where we have how to do a tactical trial, how to do a placemaking project there. We are working on a toolkit for pedestrianization, uh, just to assess other cities also along with Bangalore, to look at whether the street is good enough, capable of getting pedestrian friendly, though it becomes very difficult for us to say that it becomes that a street is not pedestrian friendly. But if it is not purely pedestrianized, we also look at something wherein we bringing these kind of systems in place.
We intervene. I think we are having to close. So if you can quickly, and then I'll ask Mr. Patil for a couple of minutes quickly.
And actually,
Then-
so we'll have to close the session.
Right
Yeah.
away.
We'll have to close it right away,
Guillotine.
sir.
Okay.
We'll have to. Unfortunately, we're. So
Sorry.
thank you so much, everyone. I would like to invite Mr. V.N. Upadhyay, Deputy Commissioner from Surat, to present a vote of thanks to all the panelists. Mane kai help?
On behalf of Surat Municipal Corporation, I thank all the panelists for their valuable inputs on the subject. Thank you.
Can we give a big round of applause to M. Lakshmi ma'am from Chennai, COCMDA. Dr. O.P. Agarwal, CEO, WRI India. Please, can we have the round of applause for them? Monica ma'am. Please, can we have a round of applause for our great panelists over here? And Rajesh sir from Commissioner and CEO Pimpri Chinchwad. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.